navigating the evolving landscape of travel in 2024. That's going to be the subject of this video. Welcome back, beautiful people. Fernando David here. And today I want to talk about trends in the travel industry. And here's why this is important. If you are a short-term rental operator or you are a travel advisor or you're part of the travel industry, understanding trends and where the predictions of travel is going, it's going to be important because you can use this information to target and market specific demographics. In particular, try to figure out what your avatar is so you can market to these people. I'm a big believer in understanding and using data to predict what's going to happen in the future. Understanding that it's not perfect, doesn't always work out, but I can tell you that following this strategy has allowed me to be successful, specifically during downturn. Here is an interesting fact. Here's a question for you. Who do you think has the strongest buying power or spending power as it relates to travel today? Give you a second to answer that question to yourself. But here's the answer, people. Gen Z and millennials, coming in close second, have the strongest buying power. In fact, when you combine both Gen Z and millennials, it is estimated they have a $360 billion in buying power. That's huge, people. That's something that just that fact alone should help you understand and help you market to a specific demographic. I can tell you that years ago, when it comes to travel, it was always the older generation. They had the largest buying power. They had the more freedom to travel. Today, that's not the case, right? Today, Gen Zs, millennials, they have a lot of freedom and they want a lot of freedom. That's why the nomad community has become such a big and a group that we, in my business, that we target often because they have the ability to work from anywhere. I have a tendency not to mind to spend money, especially on stuff that they feel they want, they need, and it's necessary. Here's something else. For example, during my time, these mental breaks, now, for example, where my son works in the police department that he works, they have this thing called RESPA. Like, it's a mental break day. Like, that didn't exist in my time. Today, a lot of companies allowing their employees to take days off for mental breaks. Whether you agree with that or not, it's irrelevant. The fact is that if you are in the travel industry, this is hugely important and you need to understand that. So let's look at what's trending and what's shaping the future. Now I'm going to read some of this stuff and then we'll talk about what this stuff actually means. There's 3 trends. The first one is targeting frequent smaller trips. And I'll read what actually says. It says data shows that typical booking for a short-term rental ranges between groups of 2 and 4 people, which is different from the past, and it averages only 3 to 4 days. In addition, the book lead time, meaning how far in advance do these people are these people booking, is extremely short. And I'm going to touch on the actual dates. But moving on to the next one, actually, let me just reset. Let's talk about trends that are shaping the future. And I'm going to go ahead and read each one verbatim, and then we'll talk about them, right? The first one states targeting frequent smaller trips. The data shows that typical booking group size ranges from 2 to 4 people with an average stay of 3 to 4 days and a booking value of $1,000 to $1,400. In addition, 52% of Gen Z adults claim to already be frequent travelers, on par with the growing trends of millennials, right? So millennials and Gen Zs, in this survey, 52% said that they were frequent travelers. Next, very important on these trending is the mobile dominance. I touched upon this topic here when I referenced nomads, but here in this survey, they said reflecting the lifestyle of digital natives, 62% of our bookings are made via mobile, via your cell phone, underscoring the importance of an adaptable, usable, user-friendly platform. Now, you guys, if you follow this channel, you've heard me talk about this in nauseum. I mean, I'm constantly telling you guys that, number one, you have to have a direct booking website. That direct booking website needs to be mobile friendly. Everything is happening on your smartphone today. So that's very important. The last thing we're going to talk about in terms of these trainings before we start talking about behaviors and changes is off-peak performance. And I'll read this again. About half of our travelers opted for off-peak nights. Demanding a preference of flexibility, value, in particular seeking last minute deals. You follow this channel, you know I preach this. In particular, I'm always mentioning on how you should be offering deals for last minute travelers. Here's how this translates to my business. In my weekend review that I do every Monday, again, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, I highly recommend you subscribe, because every week I talk about what happened in my business in the past week and I give you some of the trends that are going on. The book lead time, this is important, people. The book lead time, at least in my experience, and I'm referring to my business because this is where I have the raw data. And this study or this report that was put out by Travel and Leisure confirms what I've been predicting. More and more people are taking last minute trips. More and more people are not planning way in advance. More and more people are, when they book these spontaneous trips, they're looking for deals. They're not necessarily looking for the best accommodations. They want a deal, and within that deal, they're looking for value. I said this 1,000 times, right? Doesn't matter what type of property you have. What matters is what you do with that property. You don't have to have the best amenities in the world, but if you can maximize the usage of that property, you're going to succeed. You're going to outperform these people that spend thousands, if not millions of dollars trying to upgrade their properties, making them these 5-star luxury accommodations, when in reality, most of the travelers today are not looking for that. Let's move on. And then here's where adapting to changing behaviors is important. And I'm gonna read. The next gen traveler is moving away from that rigid long-term planning, gravitating instead toward a more spontaneous, adaptable travel plan or pattern. I did a video recently and I talked about my trip to Europe, which I think that video came out sometime in June. When I went to Europe, I took my son and his girlfriend. Now, my son and his girlfriend fall into this category. They're Gen Zers, right? And I allowed them to plan once we got there. That's what they did, people. Number one, they went day to day. Number two, they used Instagram to dictate where we ate, where we went, what type of transportation we took. Hence why I keep telling you guys, you have to have a strong social media presence if you're in the short-term rental game today, if you want to succeed, because these are the people that are traveling. I mentioned, look at the numbers, 60% or more of Gen Zers and millennials consider themselves travelers. A $360 billion spending power for these two groups. And where are they looking for their accommodations? Where are they looking to see what they're going to do, what they're going to visit, what they're going to eat? Instagram, social media, TikTok. Very important that you guys understand that. Now, going back, I talked about booking lead time. In this report, their booking lead time is 10 days, meaning that the majority of these people are booking travel within the 10-day window. I can tell you, for me personally, my booking window is within this 10-day window. Now, for me, it's a little different because I travel for my business is travel, and I travel a lot. And because business comes on, or I normally travel once I get business, and business doesn't come on. People don't call me for a 6-month trip to optimize their listing. They'll call me today and say, hey, can you come and stay in my Airbnb and help me optimize it, and let's discuss it. And it's incumbent on me to get there as quickly as I possibly can, so I can help my clients, right? So my book lead time is about 10 days. But this study confirms what I was saying, what I've always mentioned in my weekend reviews, that the majority of people are not planning way in advance. The next, we're going to talk about the urban travel base. Here's what this is. A notable 80% of travelers come from the top 25% of metropolitan areas in the US. Let's dig deeper into this. This states that the demographic with readily access to travel facility represent a key market segment for property managers aiming to expand their reach. This also aligns with the industry trends, as reports show that over 80% of Gen Zs and millennials travelers reside within urban regions. Now, what does that mean? Let's interpret what that means. That means, at least to me, I'm going to market these urban areas, meaning I'll go back as far as 2020. I'm in South Florida. So I know in South Florida, we get a lot of northerners, specifically New Yorkers, to come come to South Florida. So a lot of my marketing money goes to New York, right? New York or the Northeast area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. That area there is where I'm going to spend a lot of my marketing dollars to those people, because I know those people like to come to Florida. And a lot of them like to take these long weekends. And like I mentioned before, some of them can work remote and they'll come and stay in our properties in South Florida. But don't limit yourself to just the big popular areas. Now, here are states of 25 metropolitan areas. Now, I can tell you that if I had properties in the West, that I'm going to target Chicago. For example, for some reason, Florida's like divided between the East and the West. So anybody in the Midwest or West, meaning I would say probably Ohio West, those people, when this is just the data that I've received from my statistics from our guests, those people have a tendency to book our properties that are on the West Coast of Florida, Naples, Tampa, St. Pete. People in the East or anything east of that, they come to the east of Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach, Daytona. It's interesting how these numbers work, but you knowing that, and then in this report, it clearly states that if you target these major metropolitan areas, you're going to find success. If you are in South America, so if you're one of my listeners that are operating short-term rentals in South America, your primary target should be Miami. There's a lot of people in South Florida that are from South America, number one, but even those that are not from South America, they are, for example, a lot of my clients that hire me to plan their trips to Colombia are from South Florida. I mean, I would probably say at least more than 80% of these clients are from South Florida that are going to Costa Rica, Colombia. Some are going further south to Brazil, Argentina. And then Central America, obviously Mexico is a big one, but although my West people get Mexico more than my East people. Let's talk about digital nomads and remote workers. It is my favorite subject. It is my favorite group to target, because these people will come and they'll fill up your calendar, because they'll stay 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. Now let's read what the report states. It states the surge in digital nomad and remote work aligns seamlessly with our value proposition as it relates to short-term rentals. And now there's a big push for hybrid work. Not sure if you're following the remote work trends now. More and more companies don't want you to stay at home, but they're willing to give you a hybrid model. So taking advantage of this hybrid model is going to be critical for your success. Here's why that's important. I mentioned, if you look at the data, more and more people are traveling for 3 or 4 days, right? Well, these hybrid model workers have the luxury to be able to add on to these long weekends. So when you have a 3-day weekend, they can add on 3, 4, 5 extra days because they're in a hybrid model. So you should be targeting these people. Here's a strategy that we've used and had a lot of success with. We target major companies and we notify HR and we give HR company-specific discounts, which they can promote, they can hand out to their employees, and those employees can take advantage, and it's an extra added value for the company. I highly recommend that you do the same and team up with these major companies and offer them a discount and something specific to that company so that they can book directly with you and have their employees come and have some respite days, right? But it's a big trend, people. It's a big trend. Let's recap real quick. Understanding markets and market trends is going to help you as a short-term rental operator fill up your calendar. It behooves you to stay on top of these trends. In particular today, here's what we've learned, or at least I learned from this report, right? Number one, that you should target Gen Zers and millennials as well, right? They have the strongest buying power today as it relates to travel. Number two, understand that the booking lead time is only 10 days. So don't panic if your calendar isn't full as you're approaching a month, but understand that you may have to give some discounts and or provide some added value for these potential guests in order for them to book. Next, target these metropolitan areas. Spend your marketing dollars, depending on where you are in the world, spend your marketing dollars to specific metropolitan areas. I've already mentioned, if you're in South America, you should be focusing in South Florida. If you're in South Florida, you should be focusing on the Northeast. If you're out West, you should be focusing on Chicago. Just to name a few major metropolitan areas that you should be focusing in. Next, Understand that the digital community and remote workers are or should be a focus for you. Make sure your properties are suitable for these people. You have to have Wi-Fi. You have to have a workstation. You have to have a coffee station. Those are things that these digital nomads are looking for when they're searching for a property. You want to learn more on how to take advantage of these travel trends? Then subscribe to this channel. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.